Hello there again. My name is Daniel Burgess, and today I want to talk to you about bettering children's lives in the state of Oklahoma. So, what I'm going to propose to you is probably going to seem a little off the wall. Maybe not in the whole scheme of things and where the world is going, but definitely probably for this class or for this assignment. But in my opinion, it is one of the better ideas for accomplishing some of the goals that need to be accomplished to better children's lives in America, in Oklahoma. So what I would propose is that we legalize recreational marijuana in the state of Oklahoma to better children's lives. And I know some of you out there are like, whoa, this guy's clearly stoned. And children and marijuana don't go together. Of course they don't. I'm in 100% agreement. However, the revenue that could be generated from the taxes from recreational marijuana would be enormous in going towards helping fund a lot of the programs that children in Oklahoma need. And I'm going to try and prove that to you over the course of the next few minutes. Now, there's a lot of ways I could have went with this. I could have done the child poverty thing, which is a big problem, especially in the cities, big cities of Oklahoma. I know that Tulsa and Oklahoma City have huge issues with child poverty. Childhood obesity is an issue across America and all over the world, but I've already done that topic on here, actually. Ultimately, though, if you ask somebody, just anybody randomly walking down the street, like how would you go about fixing or making a child's life better? I think most people would just automatically say schools, fix the schools, give them a better education. So that's what I'm going to focus on right now. Oklahoma, education-wise, I don't think it's any secret to say that we've got issues. We rank 45th in the nation in education as a state. We have an 81.6% graduation rate from high school. Public school spending, which is basically per student, is $9,227 a year, which happens to be the 7th lowest in the nation. 8th grade math and reading proficiency is a huge issue. Math is 22% and reading is 29% in 8th grade, and that is way below average for our nation. So it's not a stretch to say that it needs help, that there's some things that can be done. And so then the question arises, so how do you fix this education problem? And I think the first thing people think about is teachers. We need better teachers. We need more qualified teachers. The only way to really attract better teachers would be through better salaries. And that is something we do not have. The state of Oklahoma ranks last, dead last, at $39,300 a year per teacher. That's average. That is $2,000 below 49th place per year. That's a pretty significant difference. And I mean, for those of y'all who don't know, you should. Recently, the teachers, I think it was in April or late March, early April, the teachers went on strike, and they walked out of their classrooms and marched and rallied on Capitol Hill and the state capitol, and eventually came away with $6,000 a year a raise. And that is significant. It sounds significant, and it is significant. Here's the kicker. When you add that to what they made already average, it was so subpar. They went from 50th at 39,300 to 46th at 45,300. They jumped up 4 spots, which is just not enough. That's not enough to attract teachers from other states and other areas to come here to teach our children. That's not enough to even keep the teachers that we have here in the state from going to other places where they can make so much more money. That just isn't going to cut it. So the teacher salary is a huge deal and something that is still going to have to be worked out in the future. The teachers, when they did march, when they did rally, they also were wanting more school funding because a lot of them were having to have second jobs to try and buy a house. A lot of them were having to have second jobs just to decorate their classrooms because there's no funding for such a thing. You know, any kind of revenue that would be generated from the sales of recreational marijuana could be used definitely for the classrooms, obviously. It could be used for a number of different things. Funding for new books, which obviously also was a huge sticking point on that in that rally. Some schools, the facilities themselves need to be updated. Would be the best word I can think of. Although here in Bryan County, I've noticed most of these high schools all seem pretty much brand new. So not such a big problem in this area, but in the rest of the state, apparently it is a problem. Better technologies for learning, tools for learning, computers, updated, more advanced, so that children can learn on the technologies that are in use today. I mean, these are just a few of the ways, a few of the things that you could utilize some of that funding for. Now let's get down to the funding itself. And as a comparable, I'm going to use the state of Oregon because Oregon already has legalized medical and recreational marijuana. And it just so happens their population is as close to Oklahoma's as there is in the United States. They have 4.1 million people. Oklahoma has 3.9 million people. So that just kind of worked out that way. However, before I go there, for those of y'all who have been living under a rock, Oklahoma recently voted and successfully legalized medical marijuana. The thing with that is medical marijuana gets taxed 7% in the state of Oklahoma. So 7% is a fairly small number for a tax on such a product. And I'll make that clear later on. But the one thing I did want to touch on is that it's already in place that the surplus for all the medical marijuana, 75% of that is going to schools. 25% of it is going to mental health and drug services, but 75% of it is going directly to what is known as, or in the law is stated as, common education. So we're already headed down that path, but at a slower rate than we could be. In Oregon, the state of Oregon, they tax their medical marijuana at 5%. Their recreational marijuana is taxed at 17%. So that's a pretty huge jump in taxes. So you can imagine that the majority, much larger percentage of the tax that is generated is going to be from the recreational marijuana. And the reason for that is kind of complicated. I'm not going to get into that, but it has to do with the fact that it's a medicine. It can't be taxed as high. Medicare and Medicaid and all that stuff. There's a whole bunch of reasons why that tax has to be lower than it is here. But in the state of Oregon, for example, yeah, they legalized their marijuana, both types of it, in 2016. And in 2016-2017, they generated $70 million in revenue for taxes. And then in this last year, 2017 to 2018, because they do it from July to June, they generated $82.2 million in taxable revenue that's going directly into however they deem it. They do it differently there. It's 40% schools and 25% mental health and 15% state cops and 10% city cops, and they have a whole different thing because they don't have the same issues that we do with education and with schools. So, they don't have to do it that way. But if they were, they sold, and this is the point, they sold $777 million worth of marijuana in 2018 during that time frame. And of that 777 million, over 500 million of that was recreational. So over twice as much of the marijuana that was sold recreational as opposed to medically. For obvious reasons, you don't have to jump through hoops. You can just go to the store. You don't need like a card or some sort of health issue to get it. You can just go out and buy it. And in our case, in the state of Oklahoma, that money, let's just say we kept it the way it is. And it was 75% of that is going directly to schools. And we sold 100 million, let's just say. I mean, just because it's an easy number to do math on. So $75 million goes directly in that 1 year or a year goes directly into the school system. It's hard to not do it if that's the case. I can't think of a single product, not one single product that you can sell and tax that would have that big of an impact on the well-being of children in the state of Oklahoma. I can't think of any, and if you can, feel free to comment. I mean, we're not going to tax alcohol for that reason. It's just, it's almost a no-brainer to me to work the system while it's there, while it's new, and to make it work for us in ways that we need it. And in the state of Oklahoma, there is no doubt that our number one need is for a better educational system for our children. I'm under the opinion that an educated person has a more fruitful and rewarding life. And I mean, I may be wrong. They say ignorance is bliss. But I think just the logical mind says that that's not the case. The more educated a child is, the better chance that they have of a future. And I think we're right now at a point where we can make some decisions that can make it easier on us and make it easier on our children. And that's about all I got. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Have a good day.